Stellar Crown officially releases on Friday the 13th of September, and in today's video, we will talk about certain cards in the new set and the rulings around how they work. First up, we talk about Crispin. What he does is search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards of different types, review them, and put one of them in your hand. Attach the other one to one of your Pokemon and then shuffle your deck. Now, because of the way Crispin is worded, if you can only take one basic energy from your deck, you have to put it in your hand and cannot attach it to your Pokemon. So for those who are thinking that Crispin can be played in a mono energy deck and get an additional energy attachments for your turn, you cannot do that. Crispin is meant to be played in a multi-energy deck, otherwise you are better off playing an energy search. We now move on to Deluxe Bomb, also known as the A-Spec nobody wants in this set. The most obvious question will be if you knock out an opponent's Pokemon and the effect of Deluxe Bomb knocks out your Pokemon, what will happen if both of you take 6 prizes? In a BO1 setting, we will see if either of you have any bench Pokemon. If you still have a bench Pokemon you can promote and your opponent doesn't, you win the game because you have a second win condition. If both of you can promote another bench Pokemon, it will be considered a double loss. In a BO3 setting, instead of going to a double loss, it will hit to sudden death instead. So this is quite similar to Roaring Moon EX and Frenzic Gouging. So in a BO1 setting, if Roaring Moon EX knocks out your opponent's Pokemon and your Roaring Moon EX, it will be a double loss. Next up is the other A-Spec, Grand Tree. Essentially, it allows you to evolve your basic Pokemon to a Stage 1 Pokemon and then a Stage 2 Pokemon all in the same turn. So first off, you cannot evolve the Pokemon during the turn you place it down unless the text on the basic Pokemon says you can. So you cannot place down a Charmander on turn 1 and evolve it to a Charizard EX. You still have to follow the rules regarding evolution. Next question is, can you use Grand Tree to evolve a Pokemon that only has a Stage 1 but not a Stage 2? Yes, you can. For example, you have a Drippy and a Natu in play and you already have a Rare Candy and Dragapult EX on hand. You can use Grand Tree to search your deck for a Xatu to evolve your Natu, and then use Rare Candy to evolve your Drippy to a Dragapult EX from your hand. Can you use Grand Tree as a deck search if you don't have the Stage 1 or 2 card in your deck? Yes and no. It depends on whether there is a known evolution path, and this is where it gets slightly complicated. The best scenario I can think of to illustrate this rule is as follows. If you start with a Lumineon V and nothing else, you cannot use the effect of Grand Tree to do a deck check and see what you have priced. That's because there isn't a Lumineon V star printed for your Lumineon V to evolve to. However, if you start with Rotom V and nothing else, you can do a deck check on turn 2. That's because Rotom V star is in the format and Rotom V can evolve to it. You may not have Rotom V star in your deck, but because Rotom V star has been printed and there is a chance it could be in your deck, you can perform a deck check for it. So it all depends on whether there is a known evolution for your Pokemon in play that has been printed. If there isn't, you cannot use Grand Tree. If there is, you can do it even if you didn't put it in your deck. The next ruling revolves around the third A-Spec, and that is Sparkling Crystal and its interaction with Wellspring Mask Ogerpon. Now, there already has been a topic of discussion with Wellspring Mask Ogerpon and its interaction with Double Turbo Energy. The main controversy, mainly on PTCGL, was that it was supposed to deal 20 less damage because of the effect of Double Turbo Energy, but on PTCGL it didn't. So they have since fixed this and everyone is now happy. Now the next question is, if Wellspring Mask Ogerpon has a DTE and a Sparkling Crystal attached, can you still use Torrential Pump and deal additional damage to a bench Pokemon? Yes, you can. This is a case of doing as much as you can to fulfill the requirement needed. If you have a Water Energy and DTE attached, you have to shuffle back both energy cards to deal additional damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. But if you have a Sparkling Crystal and you cannot shuffle 3 energy back, you have to shuffle what you can in order to deal the bonus damage. But if you have a Sparkling Crystal and you cannot shuffle 3 energy back, you have to shuffle what you can to deal the bonus damage. And because that's the maximum you can shuffle back, you are allowed to deal the additional damage to your opponent's bench Pokemon. And of course, remember the damage reduction due to DTE still applies because the shuffling happens after the damage is dealt. The card with the most rule clarifications is no doubt Area Zero Underdepths. Area Zero Underdepths allows any player with Terra Pokemon in play to have up to 8 bench Pokemon. If any player no longer has any Terra Pokemon in play, that player discards Pokemon from their bench until they have 5 left, and when this card leaves play, both players discard until they have 5, with the player having played the Stadium card discarding first. The first ruling is a little confusing and there are 2 scenarios where it applies. First one being you knocking out your opponent's active Pokemon, which happens to be their only Terra Pokemon, and the second scenario being you knocking out your opponent's active Pokemon and discarding Area Zero Underdepths in the process, like Lugia V-Star's Phantom Dive and Roaring Moon EX's Calamity Storm. When either of these 2 scenarios happen and your opponent has more than 5 bench Pokemon, do they discard Pokemon until they have 5 bench Pokemon first before promoting one of them to the active? Or do they promote a new Pokemon first before discarding until they have 5 bench Pokemon left? Let's use this example. If you are facing a Terrapagos EX in the active and the bench has a Luminon V and 5 single prizes, you knock out the only Terrapagos EX, does your opponent get the chance to discard the Luminon V first before promoting another Pokemon? Or do they promote a Pokemon first, keeping the Luminon V in play? We have to go back to when Skyfield was in the format to answer this, and the official ruling was that you have to reduce your bench first before promoting your new active Pokemon. So yes, the Luminon V can be discarded first. Likewise, if you knock out a Pokemon using Tempest Dive or Calamity Storm, your opponent reduces their bench size first before promoting a new active Pokemon. The next ruling is important, especially when it comes to devolution. For example, if Area Zero is in play, you have more than 5 bench Pokemon including a Charizard EX with 7 damage counters on it. Your opponent devolves that Charizard EX to a Charmander to knock it out. However, you need to resolve the effects of you losing bench space first. Because you no longer have Terra Pokemon in play, you cannot have more than 5 bench Pokemon. That means you get to discard the devolved Charizard EX/Charmander and prevent your opponent from taking a prize. And do take note, this is very different from if you knock out your opponent's active Terra Pokemon and another bench Pokemon in play. So give you an example, if your Radiant Greninja knocks out your opponent's only Terra Pokemon which is in play, and then another bench Pokemon with less than 90 HP. Now because both Pokemon get knocked out at the same time, your opponent does not get the chance to resolve the effect of losing his only Terra Pokemon in play. It's different from devolution because for devolution you lose the effect and the interaction between Terra Pokemon and Area Zero first. Yes, the order is a bit confusing, but knockouts only come after you resolve all the effects of the attack. So if the effect of the attack prevents the Pokemon from being knocked out, you don't get to go to that stage. So for the earlier Radiant Greninja example, because the loss of the interaction between Terra Pokemon and Area Zero comes after the knockout, you do get to get prizes. Whereas for the Charizard EX example, you lose the interaction between Terra Pokemon and Area Zero first. That's why you do get the chance to discard away the Charmander before you decide whether your Charmander is knocked out. That's all from me today. If you have any more questions with regards to rulings around Stellar Crown cards, do feel free to drop me a comment. And with the new season starting, I hope you are excited to play the cards from this set. Thank you once again for coming to the end of this video. Sending you lots of love. See you in the next one.